and welcome to the Leeds That podcast. I'm James, I'm with Rocco.
Hello.
And Dara Cunningham.
Hello there.
Before we get into the Swansea draw, because we have to, not because we want to, special thanks to Bass & Bly, sponsor of the podcast. I saw Justin the other day and he is looking well. Looks like he's been on the electric beach, Rocco. He tells me he hasn't.
Yeah.
But I think
I
he
saw
has.
him also. He was looking fantastic as always.
Yeah, and they've been posting some quite cool gear on their Instagram, actually, which is at bassandbly. No, it's not .com. It's at Bass & Bly. Loads of nice used gear that they always post on, so follow them on Instagram. For anyone who's new, they sell the very best in binoculars, cameras, spotting scopes, loads of used gear, used lenses, camera backpacks. They do developing a film. Yeah, at the minute, if you go to their website, there's a pop-up that'll come up and you get £10 off if you put your email address in when you spend £100 on used gear. So, yeah, very good. All stuff comes with a warranty as well, and it's bassandbly.com. Or if you're in Harrogate...
6 Beulah Street in Harrogate.
I spoiled the Harrogate bit, didn't I? Leeds United, we have to talk about it, don't we? Well, we don't have to talk about it. Maybe we could do like a silence, like for 30 minutes and just shaking heads and stuff.
Well, what's underneath the pyramids?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We can get into that instead. How about that?
Do you know what? That is a great shout. So in the international break, or the eye break, as Rocco's mate once named it, and it's kind of stuck.
Hi, George.
Hi, George. Dara shared some news about the pyramids, and we went into that for a few days, didn't we?
Yeah, it was a nice little break, wasn't it? The let me see if I can remember this. Synthetic aperture radar Doppler topography.
Bass & Bly don't sell that, unfortunately.
It's some sort of ground penetrating sound waves that use sound waves, I suppose, to see what's underground. The technology itself is actually...
I love that we're actually going into this. Maybe we don't cheer everyone up and we just talk about this instead. And you're not wearing your tinfoil hat. Why aren't you wearing your tinfoil hat, Dara?
Yeah.
All your listeners need to know is that the pyramids are just aliens that are going to fly back to their home planet one day.
That's Rocco's
Wales,
theory.
Swansea supporters.
Not a fact.
And this is so much better than talking about Melier.
So we're recording on what is Mother's Day, Sunday in England, Sunday 30th of March. And happy Mother's Day to everyone apart from Elland's mum and probably Daniel Farke's as well, I would say.
Ilan Mellier's mum gave birth to Ilan on the night of Roma away when Nigel Martin had his legendary display. I was there. He was getting born.
I bet the doctor caught him though, didn't he?
And yesterday was Elan's 200. Was it his 200th appearance yesterday? Which is the first time a keeper has made 200 appearances since Nigel Martin.
Wow.
Nigel Martin, he is not.
No. Ampadu was back in the team when the team sheet came in. That was positive news. We were kind of trying to get a measure of that in our WhatsApp group, talking about whether he was just going to get 45 minutes, 60 minutes. I think, Rocco, you said 60 minutes, didn't you? And then in the end, he did come off for that. Probably should have come off sooner. He wasn't having the best of games. I think everyone in that first half was spraying passes around that weren't hitting anyone and falling over a lot. There was a lot of slipping on that pitch.
Bad, wasn't it? Yeah, it was a bad half. And yeah, Ampadu, I was really surprised, but he did do that last time. He brought him straight back in.
Yeah.
For what was I can't remember what game it was, but it was a easy home game against one of the lower teams, and that went perfectly well. It was a doddle for him, but he did play centre back that day, which is a bit different to playing midfield, and he was so off the pace. I think it was a mistake, especially I know he probably just wanted to get the minutes in his legs and get him ready for Luton, basically. But I don't know. I feel like it felt like a bit of a risk, in case of the injury flaring up. But we don't know what the state of that is. He's probably fully better. But yeah, wish he'd have just eased him in a bit, obviously, with hindsight. And not seen such a bad display by him. Worst I've ever seen him, probably.
Yeah, for me, it was a desperate call from Farke. I think he was desperate to get him back into his team as captain. He obviously speaks about how much he relies on him. I don't know if it was a bad call. I think it was a bad call in hindsight, but I think we were getting away with it until the last minute. And if our keeper could catch a cross, again, we would have got away with it as well. And I do think you're right, James. I think it's one eye on the rest of the season, and you've got to get him up to speed at some point. So a home game to Swansea seemed like a good one. Personally, I think that where he messed up was in playing Brendan Aronson. I know Aronson tackled a ball into the goal, but that's you can't give people a lot of credit for that. Yeah,
Box crusher extraordinaire.
I don't even give a lot of credit for that because I don't think you can carry two passengers. And I think Aronson is constantly a passenger. So if you're going to have Ampadu on the pitch and him not be 100%, I don't think you can afford to play Brendan Aronson. I think in that situation, you probably have to play Tanaka as well, or Gruev with Joe Rothwell, and try and have some ballers on the pitch. You certainly can't play a half-fit Ampadu and a half-professional footballer, Brendan Aronson, in the same pitch.
There's a few games where we've taken an early lead, and it hasn't seemed to do us any favours. It's like we sort of sit back, and it gives this false sense of security that the game's going to be easy. And we've had this repeat on us a few times, and it was exactly the same yesterday. I don't know. I mean, I talked about this on the last podcast, and how I think my view is probably different from you guys. You in particular, Dara, I think, from memory, where I kind of feel there's mental frailties in this team. Like I really do, particularly going into this stage of the season. Yeah, I don't know. It's such a hard place to be because I think we're all pretty emotional. It's all pretty raw from yesterday still, isn't it? Twitter and everywhere is in complete meltdown. It's not worth going on social media, is it really? But I don't know. I don't even know what the point was I was going to make. I'm that annoyed.
Well, I think, the mental frailty, it clearly is there. I mean, fair enough. They may well turn up and smash the end of the season and then, prove that they are mentally strong. But it's the complacency. Like, it looks like they're complacent. And we saw it last season. And I said after the Sunderland win this season, I was like, I hope it felt exactly the same as Leicester the previous season. And I hoped that we didn't, see what happened then happen again. They were behaving like they'd won the league, jumping around, dancing around the pitch, Rutter coming out saying we're the best team in the league. They just thought they'd won it. And to see that again, see that sort of attitude again, which is what we've seen since, they beat Sheffield United. But since then, it's just absolutely devastating.
That was the thing that really annoyed me at the time. And we talked about it, and I tweeted about it from the Leeds account when everyone was talking about who we're going to sign next season. Is Farke the person to manage us in the Premier League? It's like, hang on a minute. We've got a quarter of the season to go at this point. Why are we talking about all this stuff? The hardest thing for Leeds United always is to get over the line, and that's the thing that we need to focus on, not 6 months down the line. It's our biggest mistake, and I don't know whether as a fan base we don't help that as well, because everyone starts talking in that way, and then everyone starts talking to the team and the club in that way, the media as well. And it's like, come on, just rein it in. Like, we're still in the Championship. We've got to get out of this first.
Yeah, well, a few points on that, I suppose. I'm not sure if I agree with the mental frailty. And I know a lot of people are going to open their eyes wide when I say that. What I'm seeing from this side is not necessarily mental frailty, but physical exhaustion is what I'm seeing. And it's the same thing from last season. He's flogged to death some of his better players because he simply doesn't trust his wider squad, or he doesn't have the managerial skills to handle a big squad. He has vastly underutilized players like Ramazani and Nonto, whilst flogging Solomon and James to death. No one needs a break right now more than Solomon and James, who have the potential to be the two best players in this league, but he has absolutely ran both players into the ground, and completely unnecessarily. Ramazani, when he was in the team, was beyond doubt our best player. He then got injured and came out of the team. When Solomon got injured, he did everything he could to get him back up to speed. He was playing him when he shouldn't have played him. Like, Solomon was playing absolutely terrible football. We were all saying, take him out of the team. Farke said, no. When he gets up to speed, what was he saying, like a bottle of ketchup or something, you don't know how much you're going to come out and all this. So he made sure he managed Solomon back into form and back into sharpness. He has not done that with Largi Ramazani. He has absolutely not done that. And we see that now in a situation where Solomon is now dying on his feet, as is Dan James, who's my favourite player. And Ramazani isn't ready to step up because he just hasn't been managed correctly. The manager hasn't tried to integrate him back into the team. So what I'm seeing isn't so much mental frailty, but physical. And the reason I think that is because we would have won a lot more games, even recently, if we had a keeper. Like, your basic cross-catching yesterday, he's under no pressure whatsoever. The ball comes in, and he doesn't even flap at it, he just catches it and drops it. That's absolutely inexcusable. And we can talk about how poor the team were in the first half. They were actually quite decent in the second half, I thought. They came out quite well. But it doesn't matter how bad we were still good enough to win that game, and we were in a winning position. But our keeper just made another cataclysmic error. And these errors are basic. Like, if we go back to Sunderland, what the hell happened there is a basic catch. Go to Hull, basic catch. Away to QPR, Rocco, you spotted it. That shot from Saito, that should have been a catch. If you watch that, as he hits the ball, Meslier takes a strange step to his right, team's left. And because of that, Saito just curls it in past him. And it looks like a great strike. But if he actually just stood where he was, instead of taking this bizarre movement to his right, he would have just caught that ball. So I'm not sure if it's. I don't get into the mental frailty because I don't think they're bottling it. I think they just run out of ideas physically, which happens. The other thing on the celebration side of things, with Leicester and Sheffield United, as a professional, you are taught to actually celebrate your big wins because you work so hard throughout the week or throughout the year, throughout your career, that if you do get a good win, it's kind of expected and it's kind of taught to you by your coaches and your wider team. Yeah, go and celebrate them. Now, don't over-celebrate them. You have to kind of have a certain amount of balance in it. Professional athletes are taught, embrace the victories because the lows are pretty bad. So when you do get a chance to have a bit of a celebration, go and do it in moderation and then move on. So I don't concern myself too much with that. But I mean, we have to talk about his squad rotation because it's an absolute shambles. I'll shut up now for a minute. I'll come back in. But squad rotation, lads. What do you reckon?
I was just going to say, the Burnley Way sent a tweet that was, all jokes aside, put Trafford in there, who's their keeper for Leeds, and they'd be up already and would probably get close to the record. And it's true, but I do think there's physical frailties in that. Meslier is probably not good enough. Let's be honest, but he's also mentally frail. He's so scarred from his errors that they just seem to be coming all the time now, which leads into your point there, Dara, around squad rotation. I'm not 100% sure Darlow's the answer, but it feels like you've got to take someone like Meslier out to give him a rest from it. It's clearly affected him. So yeah, and squad rotation. We've said it. Dara, you made a big point about this last season where it was Farke let everyone down with not doing it enough, and it does feel exactly the same this season. Ramazani's he's not a cheap player we've bought. It's not like he's some unknown quantity. We've seen how good he can be. So coach him into being ready for when Solomon comes off. But what we're seeing at the minute is he comes on and he can't even touch. He can't even control the ball. And it's the same with Joseph as well. I mean, Joseph is like we've said all along. Well, not all along, but recently. He's the shell of what we first saw from him, and it's just bizarre. He's not the player that played against Chelsea in the Cup. He doesn't even jump up for headers that are 50-50, sort of turns and looks into the player. It's just horrendous to watch. And especially when you see Joffrey just doing so well at Hull as well, it's sickening, really.
The thing as well, you think that obviously Farke's got, he's got sports scientists and they've got all the data. Like I remember when people were talking to Bielsa about burnout and he blew up saying, they're running more than they ever have, blah, 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 blah. So Farke probably has that data to support the decision to keep playing James and Solomon, which are the two obvious ones, because let's be fair, you can't really rotate the defenders because we don't have defenders to come in, and you can't rotate the strikers because we don't have strikers to come in. So it's the wingers, it's been rotating the midfield. But I mean, also it's the mental fatigue as well, isn't it? Yeah, and you can see it with your eyes anyway in the physical side of things, and they're not playing well, they're out of form, but the mental fatigue. Was it Isaac Johnson that said it? I can't remember, but someone said the goals conceded against QPR were mental frailty, more than physical frailty, and then not being able to get the winner was the physical frailty, fatigue. Sorry, not frailty. Yeah. So I think that as well, and they're under such massive pressure. You'd think that changing up the team now is something that he's got to surely do. But like I said, it is only the wingers. When you go through the squad, as I said this morning, I'm looking at the squad now and I'm thinking, well, people keep saying it's the strongest in the league, but how can you say that when we don't have a goalkeeper, we don't have a number 10, we've got one striker, and defensively, Woba's been crocked all season. Byram is barely even, I don't even think he's championship standard anymore. I think when he moves, he'll move to League One probably. I don't think don't think he's there anymore. It's like playing with, well, my dad said it's like Solomon's like he's playing with one leg when he's not got Firpo next to him because he's got no one to overlap and help him out. So yeah, I don't know. They've got good wingers, that's for sure, and good midfielders.
I'm surprised to hear that on Boyram. I thought Boyram had a good game yesterday. I think he's a solid championship backup player. I've no qualms about Boyram.
I won't mind him at right back, but it's the left back. There's just no threat. It just always comes back inside.
And I've said that before. I have said, attacking wise, he's not the answer on the left hand side because obviously Firpo had so much from overlapping and underlapping, whereas we know where what Boyram's going to do. So yeah, this whole the whole rotation thing, and it's beyond the wingers as well because Brendan Aronson, I mean, he's been our weakest player all season, and he hasn't had even one game where he's just like, oh, let's just try Nanto there for 60 minutes. You know, it's a pain in the backside, to be quite honest, lads. Like it's just ridiculous. There's no player that should be guaranteed a starting spot, and certainly not Brendan Aronson, who has started the last 35 games in a row or something, 30 games in a row. Like, it's absolutely outrageous. When you look at the squad, I still think it is the best squad in the league, or at least the starting 11 plus 3 or 4 are, because we've got good midfielders there as well. But don't get me started on Mateo Joseph. I've had it with that lad. I'm sorry. I understand he's young, and we've had a joke kind of saying he's a shell, and we really want him to do well. And of course I wanted him to do well. Like, I wanted him to start the season as our number 9. He's crap. I'm sorry. I'm just going to call it now. I called it quite early in the season that I had big concerns about him. What I saw yesterday was an absolute disgrace. It looked like he wasn't even trying. As you said, James, he wasn't challenging. He was looking at defenders instead of challenging for balls. He couldn't control the ball. And that goal we conceded, that last goal, yes, Meslier let it go through him, and I'll have a pop at him as well. But Jesus Christ, Joseph, he didn't even try to hold up the ball. Like, it came to him, and he just let the defender take it off him and run forward, and he just stood there as if to be like, oh, what am I supposed to do? Like, you're in the last minute of a game at Elland Road for promotion and 3 points. Be strong. Like, we can not slag off Bamford. Bamford never did that. Bamford would never have allowed for that to happen. You know, he would have put his body in the way. He put his body on the line. Joseph, I'm done with him. Like, he's not a championship level player. I'm not even sure he's League One. He has no right being in that squad. Absolutely no right being on that squad on current form. He is absolutely not up to standard. But that goes back to Daniel Farke, because we all knew come January we had frailties in that squad, and we all called it. Meslier made his big mistakes early in January. We had an opportunity to bring in a keeper. And let's be honest, we're in the championship. It's not that hard to bring in better players. Like, it's not like we're Man City or Real Madrid and there's just no one else out there in the world. Like, there's hundreds of keepers we could get on loan who could be better than Meslier. You know, so this idea that Farke stuck with his squad and his cohesion and all that crap. Sorry, Daniel, this is on you. And we said this as well on this pod. We said if he sticks with Meslier and that costs him promotion, then it's 100% on Farke's head and he'll get the sack for it. So I look at Adam Armstrong from Southampton, destroyed us last season and was allowed to go to West Brom on the last game of the season on loan. I look at Brent Brereton Diaz, who's gone to Sheffield United. Why didn't we get either of them? Why did we not get either of them to put a bit of pressure on Joel to help him out a little bit if he got injured? I mean, God help us if Joel Piroe got injured. Where would we be if Piroe got injured? Why didn't we just bring in another keeper? He obviously doesn't trust Darlow. So bring in another keeper. Like, your job is on the line here. It's going to cost you a hell of a lot more if we don't go up than it would have cost you to bring in 2 loan signings that could have saved our season. Because then you could have dropped Piroe into the 10 for certain games. You can play Nanto there, you can play Aronson there, you can play Rothwell there. It gives you options if you have another striker. We have no other striker right now because Mateo Joseph is horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. And I don't say this quite often. I've actually never said this in my life other than Kiko could see it. I don't want to see him in a Leeds shirt again. I actually don't, because he's not even fighting for it. And it just makes me sick. Remember he came on last season, he used to just knock players about and he used to be kind of funny. He used to knock the centre-halves about. He's not even doing that anymore. He's doing nothing. So I'm raging at him. I'm absolutely raging at him.
It's bizarre. Like, we called him Shell because it just feels like he's so different to what he was. Whether something's happened, don't know. There was that goal where he scored and he just kind of celebrated in a weird way, wasn't it? It was like he just didn't want to be here. I mean, I'm reading into something that I don't know anything about, so it's purely opinion. But yeah, he's just got that air about him where he just doesn't look interested. Because then he goes away and does well for the under-21s as well for Spain, doesn't he? So, I don't know. So very,
That's
very
too
bizarre.
heavy. He's just a young striker, and he's had a bad season, and
Yeah.
it's too heavy for him. Too heavy for Meslier. Yeah, we said it after Hull. I mean, like I really expected us to sign a keeper. I really, really did. I thought it was impossible for Farke to ignore the amount of mistakes that we'd seen. And he came out and he backed him, and for a few weeks he didn't have anything to do and everything was fine. And he has done good stuff, and there's stuff that he does better than Darlow, no question about it. But as I said previously, it's just a disaster waiting to happen. It can happen at any time, any shot, any cross. I'm just waiting for something to go wrong. And to be honest, just like Portsmouth, like he looked really confident against Portsmouth. I was delighted. And then he completely messed up for their goal. 100% his fault, in my opinion. And then yesterday, the same. Saved the penalty. I was over the moon for him. Honestly, I almost felt emotion. I was like so happy. First penalty we've saved in 68 penalties. Can you believe it?
It was a double redemption arc, wasn't it? You had Brendan scoring in the first minute, and then you had Meslier, and you thought, for me, I was the same as you, Rocco, and I was so happy, and I thought, this is brilliant. Like, this is what everyone needs. Like, the fans need to just realise, right, forget all the shit. We've got a few games to go. Let's get on it and let's go. Just so gutted. So good.
I didn't. I said to my dad literally before he dropped it, because he made a save, didn't he, from that led to the corner. It was a decent save, and my dad wasn't looking. He said, "What happened?" I said, "Man of the match, Meslier made another good save," and then he did that.
What was wrong with you, Rocco?
He was man of the match up until that horrendous clanger. He was man of the match. He'd saved a penalty. He'd also had another good save, and he just looked rock solid. He looked really, really good. But I think the big difference is, with Meslier, as you said, Rocco, you're just constantly now waiting for him to make a mistake. And the problem is, if we're waiting for that, the defenders are not even just about, the rest of the team are human too. They're thinking the exact same thing we're thinking. Like, they know. Like, don't get me, like, don't even go to try and pretend that that's not an issue for them. They're literally now looking at every cross that comes in that goes near him and going, oh shit.
You get those scenarios as well where you've got a defender who's under pressure, turns towards his keeper, and then now because he's doubting him, you get that thing of like, oh, should I just try turn this player, turn around, slip, lose the ball, players in. You think it's that sort of thing that causes so many problems elsewhere that is a major worry going into these last few games. And your points on rotation and certainly swapping in the last 7 games, that for me is where the big risk is swapping any players now and putting pressure on them to deliver in this last 7. The rotation should have happened 10 or 15 games ago. And you de-risk everything by them being ready to come into this where you've got fresh players in the squad and on the bench just ready to go constantly. But now we're in this really difficult spot of players that are mentally fatigued, physically fatigued, and then you bring other players in and they're not fresh. It's like the worst combination. So rotation for me should have happened a long, long time ago. And on Piru as well, I think, Dara, you mentioned it in the Portsmouth game, he should have buried that chance there. He had a chance yesterday, which he should have buried as well, head it straight at the keeper. And, a lot of attention does go on Meslier, and it should go on Piru, who's in these positions where he should be scoring. That's not just an opinion, it's the quality of Piru and his finishing. He should be scoring them. That's what's so disappointing. I can't believe that one didn't go in yesterday. The volley.
It was a good save. I don't know if it was straight at him, was it? I think
no,
it was
but he could have scored.
Save.
He should have scored.
He should have scored, yeah. But this is the thing. Like, you can't expect a striker to score them all, can you?
Can't expect a keeper to save them all then.
Not save anything.
No, but I think your point is well made though, because Peru hasn't missed much all season, and in the last 3 or 4 games, he has missed chances. Even going back as far as Portsmouth, he missed a few chances that he shouldn't, or he doesn't usually miss, and hasn't really missed all season.
When was his last goal? Is he on a drought? When did he last score?
7 games. He's got 1 and 7.
He's not scored for. I scored 1 and 7.
1 and 7.
When was the one?
But that's the thing. You don't. I can't remember now. But that was just a stat I heard yesterday. But you run the risk when you don't bring in another striker. We've no one to bring in for him. He'd probably welcome 2 games on the bench, because remember how good he was at the start of the season, coming in off the bench and scoring goals. Like, if you said to him, right, listen, Joel, you're the league's top scorer, you're our top scorer, going to take you out for a game or 2, play Adam Armstrong. You'll come on after 70 minutes, be ready. You've got a lot to contribute. You're back in the team in a few weeks. Great, thanks, boss. Yeah, love it. You know what I mean? Like, that's what we haven't allowed ourselves any wiggle room whatsoever. And speaking of wiggle room, I mean, if you look at the key difference with our team, every team in the Championship makes mistakes. No one has that high quality that you're not going to give up chances. The problem is, for us, when Burnley and Sheffield United make a mistake, their keepers are there to bail them out. We're the complete opposite. We don't need to make any mistakes because our keeper will bail the opposition out by giving them an easy chance or an easy goal. And it's just heartbreaking because it was so avoidable. It was so avoidable. He made his mistakes in January. You had the entire January transfer window to go and source another keeper from anywhere in the world and bring them into the second tier of English football. We're not talking about replacing fucking Buffon here. Like, it's a championship level goalkeeper. Just go and get one.
I'm laughing because when you actually think about it, the fundamentals of football are your goalkeeper is the last resort on the pitch, isn't it? It's like, you know, if players and the ball get past everyone else, you're there to just like try and do your best. But when you're just creating scenarios for another team, it's absolutely ridiculous. You have got zero chance of, in my opinion, I think we have got zero chance of getting automatically promoted because of, I'm not going to say it explicitly because I feel bad. He's not a bad person. He's just a bad keeper.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably important to say. He has served Leeds well over a period of time, and he was good enough to get us up, and he had a good season, obviously, in the Premier League before season. Would you take him out?
What do you mean? Like
absolutely
shooting range?
It's beautiful.
Like, date or in range. I would take him out, but equally, it's like I said to you before. The squad rotation thing is a massive risk. You know, if Darlow had a run of 5 or 6 games when Meslier wasn't performing very well, you know, like you said, Rocco, after Hull, then maybe. Or Darlow had a proper run and we wouldn't even be having this conversation, would we? So, I don't know.
I mean, can he be a bigger risk than Meslier?
Possibly not, no. But this is the thing, is coming into this point of the season and lumping the pressure on players that haven't been in feels unfair. I don't know about you.
International. He's an experienced guy, isn't he? It's a good one to, you know, if you're going to throw someone in. I mean,
he's a good-looking man as well.
I hate the thought of it.
Do you know what I think? And, you know, you might feel differently, but I think Gnonto is the one that...
He can't play a goal. Don't be ridiculous.
He's too small, but I think...
I bet he'd have caught that cross. He would have caught that cross. I
He
don't know if he
would've.
saved the shot. He just kicked it away.
He was... well, I mean, Meslier wasn't even under pressure, was he? That's what's annoying. It's not like someone was even leaning into him.
It's mad.
But Gnonto, I feel, is one that can galvanise us all, because there's loads of people have been saying for weeks that Gnonto should be playing. We talked about him being a number 10. Farke talked about him potentially being a number 10, rotating him for Aronson, which was why I was surprised to see Aronson even starting. But I think in terms of the psychology of everyone, and Gnonto himself, he looks so hungry when he comes on because he wants to prove a point, that I think that's what we need injected into the game for everyone's sake. We need something like that. And the one thing I will say, you know, you talked about Byram earlier on, is that Byram is such a good reader of the game, and there was times in that match where he just got so stuck in, and I thought that's what everyone wants, like the crowd wants that. And we need a few more heads like that where they just look really up for it. And you just don't see it in a lot of the younger players. It's like a nervousness or a very sort of, I don't know, like a coached out of them professional attitude type thing. I don't know. But for me, it feels like we just need some of the steel that Farke has always talked about.
The knife between the teeth.
Yeah.
I think you're dead right about Gnonto. And I think I said on the last part, I think Gnonto's the man who can fire us to promotion. So 2 points. I'll start with Gnonto and I'll finish on Meslier. Gnonto, you're right. He seems to have that hunger. And Rocco, you probably had the best view of this from the cop. But you don't see it on the normal TV view. But the way Gnonto ran onto that ball, as you said, James, it was pure desire and hunger. He was behind the defender. Defender was in front of him, was closer to the goal. And as that ball breaks, Gnonto just sprints at full speed past the defender, almost pushes him out of the way. It's like nothing was going to stop him hitting that ball. And a technique to kind of fire it in that hard, keep your knee over the ball when the ball's coming towards you. That's a wonderful, wonderful strike. Like, that's absolute top international class strike. So he's got to be starting now every game. And I get why he didn't start yesterday. You know, in fairness, I want to hammer Farke, but I'm not going to hammer him over not picking Gnonto yesterday. That was out of his hands. On Meslier, I would take him out at this point. I think it goes back to what Rocco said.
Sam Allardyce was brave enough, wasn't he, Dara?
He was. And did Joel Robles do anything bad? He didn't. And, you know, because you don't need a keeper to do anything amazing. Look at Southampton last season. Gavin Bazunu in all season gets injured for the last 9-10 games. They bring in Alex McCarthy. He's just a bang average backup keeper. He was fine. Just don't make mistakes. Just catch the cross. But I think what Rocco said.
On the cross, he doesn't normally catch them, does he? He normally punches them.
Yeah, that's probably
continue
the point.
Continue punching them.
But he punches him if he's under pressure. He didn't even need to punch that one because there was no one near him.
Just punch it, Melia.
But Rocco's right. The players have lost all faith in him. The fans have lost all faith in him. You've got to take him out. I'd play Alex Kearns if I had to. I think go with Darlow, as Rocco says, experienced keeper, international. I don't subscribe to the whole unfair thing. These are professionals getting paid. He'd be delighted to come in and do a job and play matches. That's what he's there for. So I think you've got to take Meslier out. I just think that the whole team has lost faith in him. I've lost faith in him. You've lost faith in him, and to continue with him, I think the nervousness at the back, as we said earlier, you said it, James, send it back in himself running for a ball. Do you pass it back to him? Do you not? It's too much. The mental load of that for someone who should be focusing on winning a match and trying to win a league and get promotion is too much. You got to bring Darlow in. You've got to bring Darlow in. Meslier has made it impossible for it to be anything other than that.
I saw Meslier today. I sent you both a video, didn't I?
He looks very glum, didn't he?
Yeah, he walked past me in Harrogate. We were out for Mother's Day, just a little walk, and he walked past. He was very glum, and he was swinging at branches like a kid. Like a kid when like, oh, why didn't I do my revision? That sort of thing.
Maybe he's been told he's going to be dropped. Maybe that was the moment Farke had dropped him.
I'd say he's probably depressed enough anyway without even having that. He knows himself. He's not going to be happy with that. It doesn't make it any easier.
It's awful.
There's nothing against the guy.
No, exactly.
You see him quite a lot, James. I don't know. I think maybe you're rubbing off on him or something. Maybe he's got your ability, has he?
I bought some binoculars from Bassenblai to just go spotting, player spotting. And I'll tell you who I saw earlier on as well, Firpo in Harrogate.
Why did you report that?
He had a hoodie up, glasses on, but I saw the tash. I was like, I know who you are. So yeah, but he was very much opposite of Meslier. He was hood up, hiding. Yeah, I don't know why they were both in Harrogate. It was a nice day, so nice day for Mother's Day. Yeah. What else do we want to cover? Or do we just go cry?
Yeah.
Well, Farke's comment. What did he say?
He said we're definitely going to get. He's certain we're going to get promotion.
I'm 100% next season we will play in the Premier League.
That was so funny.
You go first.
Yeah. So before the game, in his pre-match presser, which was really good. But I saw a picture on Twitter. I can't remember who did it, but it was a picture of Farke in the presser, and the tweet said, Farke says that we're all feeling cool and relaxed. But in the picture, there was just a strand of hair that was over his face, and I'd never seen it before. It's I don't know, he looked under stress and under duress. He's normally an absolute picture of his hair's always perfect. And then to come out and say that afterwards, oh my God! If we'd have won, he wouldn't say it in a million years. If we were 10 points clear, he wouldn't say it in a million years. I mean, obviously it's some sort of mind game, but I mean, it sounds like a mistake. I mean, what are you saying there? That is a height of desperation. I was gutted when I saw that.
Farke said a lot of things yesterday, and it was the first time I saw him BSing the general press, and our mate Isaac Johnson would have had to sit there and listen to some of that. And if you haven't listened to Isaac's Leeds That podcast, please do. It was the last pod we did during the international break. It's absolutely brilliant. Isaac is obviously a writer with Leeds Live, and in my opinion, he's the next Phil Hay. I think he's an excellent writer, and when you listen to him on the pod, he speaks so much sense. He's so much insight into the situations with Farke and Aronson in particular. I thought were brilliant stuff we hadn't heard before. His new take on Leeds. So that's the last pod. If you haven't listened to that, it's still very relevant because it speaks in Leeds to Leeds in general terms. But it was the first time I'd heard Farke BS the general press. In some of his excuses as well, what was he saying? Just back off the international break. Come on. Every other team in the league is just back off the international break. That's no excuse not to be able to make 5-yard passes. The reason we can't make 5-yard passes is because you flogged them to death and you don't admit that. So there was definitely a pressure there. But the smartest thing I thought you said was that he was certain we're going to get promotion, because he has to be our leader right now. And I've said it from day one, not a great manager, but a great leader. He has to be absolutely unwavering in his mental approach to this, because the players are going to be down. They're going to be doubting it. You're doubting it. I'm doubting it. 40,000 Leeds fans, 27,000 Leeds fans down the road on Monday. Yesterday, who were doubting it. And he's the leader who stands up and says, "Don't doubt it. We are going to do this. I'm telling you now, we're going to do this." I thought that was genius, and I hope he's right.
I knew Dara, you'd have a different opinion on this. Why didn't I call this out? But I kind of get it in the context of saying to your players, you will be in the Premier League next year. You have to believe it. If you don't believe it, you cannot get up for the fight that needs to happen over the next 7 games. But to the fans, it feels like, why are you saying it? But I suppose, you know, that's two sides of the coin, isn't it?
Yeah, we don't know what. Has it had the desired effect? Obviously, we'll find
We'll
out
see
on the pitch. Whether he ever thought that it was going to galvanise the fans, well, hopefully not, because that would be ridiculous. Yeah, we'll find out at Luton. I am absolutely dreading that match.
Yeah. Luton, 12:30 kickoff next Saturday. Farke told the players to have 48 hours away from football, not even thinking about it. So they're all in Harrogate, having cups of coffee and hitting bushes with their hands. So
Yeah, but he was aiming for the lamppost.
gosh, brutal.
That's another funny one, isn't it? 48 hours off, you know.
It happens a lot, though. I mean,
No, Grayson did it before the Bristol Rovers game.
I think it's a smart move. Like, when you've got a week's gap, they're obviously tired, especially the ones that have rushed back from international football. And like we talked about this in the WhatsApp group, that last season in the run up to the last few games, the Welsh team didn't qualify, did they? And they had all that heartache to come back to, and then they had the pressure of Leeds. You just think
DJ missed a penalty as well.
Exactly. Yeah, it was a lot. So I get it. I think it's a smart move, to be honest.
You can't second guess them for giving the players some time off. I mean, we're all sitting here saying they're fatigued.
Exactly. Yeah.
They need time.
If they're mentally fatigued, physically fatigued, frail, then give them some time and then come back in and absolutely rinse them, basically. But yeah, anything else you want to cover, Dara?
One last thing on Farke. I think he's a dead man walking now. I think we've seen too many things, shall I just say, because it's the amount of them is vast. There's too much complaint about Farke right now for him to be anything other than a dead man walking. Obviously, if we don't go up, he doesn't deserve a third season, because it's a 2-time failure with two good squads. He's not going to have a better squad next season, and we'll lose Dan James, and I'm going to cry. If we do go up, I think we lose our first 3 or 4 games, he's gone. I think it's just not quite connected in the same way it has with previous managers. I don't think he's going to get the credit he deserves one way or another, even if he does get us up now. But I think seeing the lack of rotation, seeing the same kind of thing happening again, I think even if he pulls out a bag now, yeah, he'll get a short-term boost, but I think there's enough, I don't want to say animosity, but there's enough doubt there amongst the fan base that I think 3 or 4 losses in the Premier League and he'd be out the door. I think he's written his own tombstone with this idea of not bringing anyone in January and sticking with Meslier.
I think that'll be the case if the club agree with that and agree with the fans and agree that he messed up in January. If it was even his decision, who knows? They might have said that there's no money to get anyone else.
Well, that's the thing. He's never going to call them out, is he? He might have said he wants players when they just said no.
Yeah. And they did try and get a striker. So, you know, they tried to get Cameron Archer, didn't they? So, I mean, that's on the club. He must have said that he wants a striker. Even though in the press he was saying all that he did. They tried to get a striker, didn't they? They put all their eggs in the Cameron Archer basket. I'd like to know if he's played. Has he done anything? Obviously not, because Southampton lose every game. But yeah, I don't know. It's depressing to think. Hopefully we'll find out and they'll be in the Premier League. And if we lose the first 4 games, then so be it.
Right. Let's all just go cry and we'll be back after the Luton game. Go on, Dara.
You're forgetting your last thing, James.
I don't want to talk about anything anymore.
You have to say the cheesy line, James.
What's the cheesy line?
Our analytics are showing that there's so many people watching these videos and listening to this pod who haven't subscribed. And you got to say it, James. You got to say it.
Like and subscribe.
No, say it properly. Smash a like.
Smash a like. Flames in the chat. Hit the subscribe button. Send Dara some comments about whether he's right or wrong. And tell Rocco his books are rubbish.
By accident.
in the comments. Yeah, by accident. They're not rubbish. You should buy them. We sell them on our site, leadsthat.com. Dear. I want to end this podcast, but I'm just looking at the table comparison after 39 games. So last season we were on 83 points. This season we're on 81.
Dara's just held up the League One Leeds book, which is my favourite. And we completely collapsed that season. But we had enough time to turn it around again. And that we did. And it all ended up beautiful. So it can happen. Leeds can do it, even with fans in the ground.
Stock take. Last thing on this, and please do subscribe as well. By the way, people, we're too old. We feel that it's really weird to say please subscribe, but it actually really does.
Maybe
help.
we need to say it in a funny way, or maybe we've done it.
Yeah, my dad to write a song.
Yeah.
My dad will do a jingle for it.
Jingle. We need 5-second jingle, if that's all right, David Dean. Thank you.
Please, Mr. D. Can we have a 5
all right,
second
6 seconds. 6 seconds.
Right, so
long enough for a keeper to hold it. So it's 6 seconds now, or 8 seconds for next season.
Right, quick stock take. Are we going up?
Oh, don't ask me that. Yes, play a final. No. It's our time. I think, right, Newcastle winning a cup has like broken some sort of spell. And when we go to Wembley, we're going to win.
I'm going to go away.
We're not going to Wembley, Rocco. You're delusional. Frank Lampard's going to eat us alive at some point, and then that's it. No, we're not going up.
I think we are. I'm still keeping the faith. It's still in our hands. We've got 7 games to go. We're going up.
Sheffield United have 3 away games in a row now.
I love you both. Good. I love you both, but you're idiots. Right. On that note, thanks ever so much, everyone. Like and subscribe. We'll see you after the Luton game. Just win these, please, for crying out loud.